Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. Let's take a look at the 16 levels of streaming. This is how I see the streaming market. This is not necessarily how it really is, but me having heard a lot of stuff on the market, this is how I would rate it and how a lot of my friends would rate the whole stream market. So, level 1. This is the most basic level. So, what we've got is wireless speakers over to your phone that is running some kind of cloud streaming service, Tidal, Spotify, whatever service, could be any random service. It's running it over Wi-Fi. It's using devices like Apple TV, Chromecast, Sonos, could be other stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff on the wireless internet. It's a big house. It's small wireless speakers, so it's the most basic sound you really can get. And the way that I see it, let's just draw a house here. Let's just pretend this is a roof, like that. What can we do here? Let's say we've got your router over here in this corner here. See, it's got this antenna here and over there, the third one, fourth, the fifth, lots of antennas. And there could be like a ground floor and a here's like your room number 1. Room number 2. Room number 3. Room number 4. And let's just say we have you, the user, over here in this room. 1 happy pappy, like that. So you've got your speakers here, your wireless speakers. And basically this is sending a signal over to this room where there's another device. This could be some kind of an access point that sends it on to like this room, and then where you are right here. So you have to use your phone and signal for that phone to basically go back and forward, transmitting the signal. This could be anything, I'm just using Chromecast, Apple TV, Sonos as an example. There are many other products like that, but these basic products, they have a weakness, which is the whole network, which is unstable, barely running. We've got the wireless signal, so your amp down here, this thing, these also go into like a wireless thing, into like a box over here, which then is connected to your amp. Let me just call this amp so it isn't too weird. And this could be like a media, let's just call it media box, just so you know what it is. So we've got all these weak connections, weak power supplies. It's all wireless. This is wireless, your phone is wireless, and then on top of that you're using some kind of a wireless cloud service. Okay, so let's just call this, what you've got in your hand here, a cloud service. Let's just call this a cloud service. Okay, streaming cloud. So this is what I see as a level 1. This is like the most basic stuff that most people know. That's your level 1 system. That's how it works for most people. This could be any random cheap product. Of course, you could improve the router, give it a better PSU, power supply. You could bring that closer to you. You could even put it on cables. Would it improve the sound? Without a doubt. If you get your wireless Sonos speakers and probably get like a future product in 2000 and let's just say 21, 22, whatever, with cables, is it going to be better? Yeah, most likely going to be a lot better. And you know, we can improve on all of these parts to make it a lot better. So you probably get it now. This is level 1. This is what most people are doing and have been doing the past couple of years. So let's go on to level 2. This is where we start going into something like a smartphone or an iPod with a random streaming service, Tidal, Spotify, whatever, Qboss, whatever is out there. Of course, the differences between the streaming services. Some say Tidal gives you better quality music than Spotify. They're probably right. I haven't tested them all against each other, but that's what people normally say. So you run just something off your smartphone or an iPod, and then you use some earbuds. Basically, you've cut a big part of that liability. You know, you've cut a big part of that signal away by doing this. You know, simply by doing this and having this thing instead of this all over the place like this, you just have like one thing here doing its thing. So you basically cut 1-2 parts away, and you're using the same formula basically. So there you have it, your level 2, and yeah, this could actually be cheaper than the level 1, easily be cheaper. But you know, it's not practical, and that's why a lot of people go for this level 1 solution, because they want something that can give them movies, television series, music all in one solution, and they want to go on the internet, and you know, things have to be practical, so that's why people usually have a level 1. Then you could be like a student, worker, someone who studies, doesn't have a lot of money, whatever situation, you would usually find yourself in a level 2 position there. Not a hell of a lot better than level 1, but just you know, like noticeably better, where you're noticing that it's getting better. You know, it's going up in class. So there's another level here where you run a smartphone or special device with a portable amp attached to that thing, your thing being the phone or other device that you have, and then you run your own high quality recorded tracks of it locally on that device. That could be high resolution files, DSD files, maybe even just CD files. That could also be high quality resolution, for example. You know, what I mean is that it's high quality recordings. That's what I mean. So when you have a device, first of all, you've got a device that isn't running on live power. It's running on battery. That usually softens the sound, makes it more pleasant. And when you, on top of that, use an amplifier, which not a lot of people do. Some do. I've heard this before, and actually quite okay. Suddenly, when you're running this and you've got, I don't know, high quality files on that thing, and you're then running, you know, this could be like a biodynamic DT990 Pro 250 ohm headphone, you know. Suddenly you're running that instead of, I don't know, Dre Beats headphones, and yeah, again, you notice a significant boost going from level 2 to level 3. So now that's out of the way. Let's get over to level 4, and that's I would say the old-fashioned approach that no one really is doing anymore, and I did this a lot, especially right in the start. So you simply run a normal RCA phono cable from your computer or laptop, and you run it directly over to your amp. You don't have a DAC. This gives you a very raw and unfiltered sound. Yeah, there will be structural, problems, controlling the volume, dealing with, certain types of detail. You won't be getting everything doing it this way, but, you could still make a pretty decent setup. You could still run a program like JRiver or some other Rune, what's it called? Solution. Rune solution on your PC, and it would still sound pretty damn good, and very good value for the money. And so it could either be Rune or some local stuff that you have on your computer. But you could combine this with watching films, series, stuff like that. I think it's a good place to start, where I think a lot of people wouldn't even give this a try. I think they would most likely go for some finished product, USB type of thing. You just, put in your PC and then you run something wireless instead. And I would actually suggest people do this instead. What I did when I had this solution to start with, I just ran some Oyade 079 gold plugs on a really good power cable that I made myself. Had a really old, like Audigy $20 sound card. I used Winamp to start with. Later I went over to JRiver. Fantastic solution. Really a lot of value that you got there. Of course, I realized that once I got into DACs and good cables and stuff like that, it's a totally different game that you're playing. But just to let you guys know, and yeah, when you go from like a normal PC sound card over to something like a Sound Blaster Audigy 2 sound card from like, I don't know, what is that, from like 2004 or something like that, then you start getting into some decent sound cards, Then it starts becoming pretty interesting. And then you could, of course, if you run it over to a cheap DAC, it makes it even better, So that's the next level. That's the next level that you do. So there's this other level where you buy a cheap streamer. And this is like the lowest class streamer. And then you run it over to like the lowest class DAC. And then you're over to your amp. Level 6. That's what I would call level 6. But then there's another level that I think a lot of people aren't considering, which is the newest and most expensive sound cards, like for example the EVGA New Audio that's been built in. They work together with AudioNote on that, and there are also some other ones like Asus, Sonar, and some other good ones. There you start running into a sound card sound that is actually very, very good price-wise. Here we are cutting like through the market, going past what's traditional, what's I would say what's the path of least resistance, You might have to work a tiny bit extra to get this working, but it's not a hell of a lot of work. You just buy a damn sound card, put it in a normal PC, and then you just set that up sound wise using settings that could be like 32-bit, 24-bit, 16-bit, whatever. And then you can even use that as a headphone amp. And you know, this is like, I think, the best value card purely in terms of music. And it's impressive. It's really impressive, the amount of sound you can get out of that. And yeah, you could use a bit of money on some cables and make that even better. Make that come up to like a 7.5 class. Of course you could. Of course you could. But I mean, in itself, there's only like, I don't know what this cost, $300, $400, $500 to buy. It's good value. It's really good value, especially because it has the headphone amp built in and the DAC built in. So you could basically run this from the sound card directly over to your amp. You don't even have to have a DAC. But of course, you could run this over to like a basic DAC and still get a boost from the sound card. So think about that. You know, think about that. Not a lot of people are really considering that. Most people are just considering like a blue sound streamer, our relics, our render streamer. This is a thing that can easily beat that if you just want to use the time on setting it up properly. So yeah, here we, you know, the normal $3,000 to $8,000 streamers that you buy and connect to your basic DAC. That's then level 8, and yeah, I have to say that beats this most times. It really does. And it also makes sense price-wise, you know, it kind of makes sense. And yeah, then you can really understand, you know, going from your blue sound streamer, for example, to some kind of a mid-class, our render, our relics streamer, or a bit higher class. Then you're in this zone, you know, this level 8 zone. And there, I would say, things start actually getting interesting, you know. There it starts getting interesting. And here we're into the expensive, crazy best streamers that are in the $8,000 to $25,000 zone, and this is where it really gets interesting, where you're like, wow. Then you get a big taste of that hi-fi world, having really good structure, black levels, stuff like that. It still might not be very natural, and might be some aspects of the detail that aren't like really there where you want them to be, but this is like, you know, the best stuff that we see at shows when it's set up in a proper way. And yeah, that's what really gets people around this level, where they're like, that streamer thing, that could have a lot of potential, you know. Then we're usually up in this area here. And like, if you take the newest and most expensive streamers in the store, again in the same $8,000 to $25,000 range, I'm just, you know, farting out some numbers here. These are the numbers that I've experienced, and they will of course change with time. I can't generalize completely, I know, but you get my drift. You know, you get my drift. You get what I'm trying to say, the gist of it. And here, because going from a level 9 to level 10, basically just you're using a better DAC, period. That's basically just it. And level 11, this is like the few custom-made streamers out there that individual sites and people are building in do-it-yourself form, or forums, or, you know, they investigated something on a forum and they found something out and they got lucky and they kind of beat the system. And you have to kind of use a lot of time on this, a lot of experimentation, And usually you're not really using the standard parts, but you've learned from a lot of people from these forums and these individual sites that are making custom made streamers that are on sites. You know, and then we're usually in the $3,000 to $25,000 range, I would say. And they can vary quite a bit in quality. I've heard some couple of these streamers, and I also did a reaction video to Pursuit of Perfect Sound on my channel. You can check that out. The guy also did a sort of a do-it-yourself streamer solution there. That's like one of the solutions. And here's like where I am with my streamer. This is like the freaky few like myself that knows a guy who can do it for you. He buys the PC, he uses some unusual parts that you can't usually get a hold of. Maybe it's parts from having operated on DACs or amplifiers or speakers or whatever, and he just tries to use those parts, and he creates some kind of a filter in the PC. Not an optimal way of doing it, but you know, a hell of a lot better than you know, standard store products that you buy, and even some of the lucky, well-made streamers out there. So you can get lucky like I did and get one of these, but most likely this is never going to happen for anyone out there. You kind of have to know a guy who's a genius who can do this. And here I know a guy that had basically the same one as me. Had the same streamer as me, had a special version of that made that was a lot more expensive with a lot better parts. And here we're like into the crazy parts of, you know, the resistors that are a quality rating of 7 out of 10, and caps and PSUs that are like 6 out of 10, and plugs and cables around 8 out of 10. You know, these are like the really expensive custom made ones that you only see once in a while. You can't find these on forums or anywhere. These are like, you know, once in a while you just see gems like this that are made from people that are brilliant. So these don't really exist on the market. These are things that you and I could make if we were brilliant. So this is what I've experienced as the very, very best on the market. This is what I know is the top solution out there. Price-wise, I don't know. I think we're starting at around $2,500, but more realistically, when you've done this in its basic form, most likely you're up in $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And if you're doing it properly, you're probably up in around $10,000. But this is the best that I've heard. This is the best that I've heard. And using some special filtering boxes in a special way that isn't the norm on the market. You're basically, what can you say, beating the system by using the products that already exist on the market, but people have failed to realize how good they really are because the standard way of using them aren't really that good. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, you know, boxes like Uptone Audio ISO again has a huge potential, but the power supply, the LPSU as you call it, linear power supply, that comes with the box chokes the sound. So you're only getting perhaps like a tenth of what it could give you. And most people that buy a JCAT card and put it in a PC, they don't really realize how good it really is because they're still using a standard power supply. So let me just draw that up for you guys. Just ignore this entire thing. Let me just can I just erase this quickly. Erase. Yeah, that's better. Let me just erase this for you guys. Oh. It takes forever, my god. And we've got a streamer here. Let's just say we've got the motherboard there. We've got the power supply here. ATX power supply. That's normal for a PC. Let's call this a PC, just so you know what it is. MB for motherboard. And yeah, we've got all the usual stuff on the motherboard. But what was my point? Yeah, this was my point. We've got a card. And let's call it a JCAT card. So the thing that makes this JCAT card so fantastically good is really because you're not using the power on the main board. You're using its own LPSU. And you're not using a standard one, you're using a custom LPSU. You know, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You could probably get that for only around, I don't know, $500. But when you start doing this, then you're beating the system. And again, let's say, again, for this to happen, you kind of have to go, no, we don't want a standard PC PSU. We are going to feed the power on a thicker cable. This is me trying to draw a thick cable. Oh, great. From this LPSU, let's just call it an audio custom made LPSU. You know, when you start doing things like this, doors start to open and music starts getting really interesting. And then, I mean, then we're dealing with stuff that then when we're dealing with stuff that's in the, I don't know, I mean, we're starting to get into a sound that's in the I would say the 50 to 100K US dollar area for sound systeming. We're starting to enter that area once we do things like this. And of course, you know, custom made LPSUs, of course we've got decent whoop. I'm really bad at drawing, sorry guys. This is like this is me trying to draw a power cable. Isn't that bad? Of course, we've got power cable that is decent on all of these custom LPSUs. Of course, we've got that. All of these things are keeping this computer in check, because if we don't keep that in check, if we just put normal power onto it and we let the motherboard give energy to all of this, it will sound horrible. It will sound thin, it will sound vague, and you will hear that usual confusing type of sound where it's like, I don't really want to listen to music, I'll just turn this thing off. This is where all the magic starts, okay? And sadly, you have to kind of go to level 14 in order to do this. And I mean, even me with a freakishly good streamer, that ain't just because this is 12, 13, and 14. Don't believe for a second that this here, what I own, is anywhere close to this. I would say that this is probably 10 times better than level 12. Believe it, baby. 10 times better, even though this is only going from 12 to 14. A lot happens on from around 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 to 13 to 14. Huge things happen, you know, gigantic changes start to happen, especially from where I am to what my friend has. Crazy amounts of detail starts to appear. Black levels are on a completely different, from a different planet, and you start hearing a analog type of sound that makes, you know, most top LP rigs sound like they're dying, you know, like they're fake, like they're digital, like they don't care, like they're gray, that they're hugely noisy and you can't access information. You know, the black levels that you get at this level is bonkers. You know, it paralyzes you almost listening to this. But yeah, I believe that you could, in theory, do this better. I mean, it only makes sense to me. I haven't tried this yet, but I think you could do the same thing like in level 14, just with better parts, meaning that you don't have a Yamaha system that my friend has with a monitor, audio, speaker, but you own proper gear, you know, like Griffin, Burmeister, Niagara, Condor, Spectral, Audio Note, that type of gear, you know. As soon as you get into that type of gear and you have a streamer like this, and you probably feed it some even better LPSU, some even better cables, some even better plugs, then I can only imagine that it gets better. And I haven't tried this yet. You know, it's going to take me a while until I can get into the zone and try this. This is a bit expensive, you know, when I have to buy this myself, test it, and then report it to you guys. But that might easily take a year or 2 or 3 before that's possible. But I can only imagine going from stuff like Yamaha, which usually is in a category of around 30 out of 100, in my opinion, going over to equipment that's like Griffin, I don't know what that is, around 50, 60-ish with Burmeister, and then, you know, Niagara is probably around those 65, 70-ish zone, and then Condor, Spectral, Audio Note, they're basically, you know, up there close to 100. So I can only imagine that. And yeah, it could get even better, you know. We could use even better parts from like Audio Notes, only Audio Notes, the stuff that they use in their top series. In theory, you know, in theory we also have what's it called, tube LPSUs from Audio Note, and then their top resistors, top caps, top electrolytes, top cables, everything, you know. In theory you could do this, because when you start doing this at Audio Note levels, then you could take all of these long boxes that we have here, and you can shorten them down to probably like a third of that signal, because we're going all in bonkers style Audio Note, top level shizzle. This is very theoretical, you know. So I haven't tried this, but I've tried up to this level, and this level here is just absolutely amazing. So that's how I see it. And if there someday is a higher level than this, of course I will try and report that to you guys. But this is how I see it. I could be totally wrong. I could just be like some kind of weird dude living in Ukraine, you know, having a tinfoil hat and thinking up weird stuff that makes no sense. I could be one of those guys. Hopefully I'm not. But yeah, that's how I see the market. Do whatever you want with this information. Maybe it will help you, maybe it won't. It's just to kind of give people an idea of what's good, what's worth investing in. Because when you say streaming, I mean, we've got a lot of levels, and I think that only now, since I've presented to the world what proper streaming is, only now will you be able to see it for what it really is, you know. Only now will you be able to compare it to what's out there. And I might be wrong, you know. I think if I am wrong with anything about this list here, that'll probably be that, like, the year. We might have to change this to another year. Market might change completely in 10 years. So we have to discard everything that's on this list. But I don't think that's going to happen, you know. I think in the end, money dictates what's going to happen on the market. And I can't envision this here ever becoming old before year 2050, because we've built a lot of good technology out there, but still, having built all of this good tech, we still have a lot of gear that where you can only pull up to around 20% of the full potential of the gear out of the DACs, out of the streamers, out of the amps, the speakers, that everything, because we've got a lot of isolated boxes that have a lot of potential, but they're not all coming together in one product where we're able to isolate all the important crucial parts that filter the noise. So I think it will just continue being like a broken market with a lot of different companies, a lot of different boxes doing it on a lot of different levels. I think the game will just continue almost forever, because money in the end dictates the level of quality that you can put into something. And I don't think that I might be wrong, but I don't think AudioNote will go into this area. This is quite an insane area, and I think it will take a company that only does one product, which is streaming, to reach these levels here. Just level 14 is crazy enough, you know. So yeah, that's how I see it. And yeah, you can make investments in a streamer that gives you a lot better value for your money. You know, if you invest in PSUs, power plugs, DC cables, if they are short and high quality, and if you do other stuff, put an FMC converter on, like I said, with the clock box, you know, that's crucial. If you don't have a clock box, GPS locking box, GPS clock locking box, if you don't have these things, I mean, you lose a huge part of the effect. If I just took this out of the system, I would lose a lot, especially timing wise. And yeah, you could also kind of skip the external linear power supply to the JCAT card, and you could still get it like a decent good sound, but it wouldn't be a level 14, you know. I think it will drop down to about a level 13 if you did that. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny when you think about it. There are a lot of boxes out there that have a lot of potential, and you could also go with cheaper stuff like Fidelity instead of Uptown Audio, which is a lot cheaper, but not quite as good. You know, I've tested it with my friend, and no, it doesn't get you up to level 14, sadly, no. But it will get you up there. It will make you save a lot of money and give you a lot of value. So it will probably be around here if we just make it with more simple solutions like that. But yeah, this is how I see the market. So I hope you learned something. I hope you can use this to your advantage, and maybe, you know, in the future, if we're lucky, we'll have a company like Apple, Chrome, Sonos, making a proper product, taking us up the levels, you know, getting us up to something that's around here. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Let's see what the future holds. This is me logging out. Have a nice day. Bye.